Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm your host, Nor Kyle.
And I am her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, happy to be able to say that. So glad we're all here together. Thank you to all of those of you who are here live, hanging out. Hmm. And those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you so much for making time to sit here and chill. So, ah, what are we talking about this fine Sunday?
Tonight, we are going to discuss um, an idea that Mr. Gurdjieff called taking impressions, which is related, as it happens, to the Sufi idea of Samā.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize this, but there is a direct connection in a very particular way. And first, we're going to look at it from the fourth way view because they have a pretty clear, non-secular idea of taking impressions. And then we will look at it from the Sufi point of view because it is deeper and intentional. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Should be fun. And notice that I have mentioned Mr. Gurdjieff three times now. Just,
By
yeah,
full name. Yes.
yeah. No, full name is George Ivanovich Gurdjieff
There
in
you go.
English,
That's very, we're formal now.
or Yorgi. They used to call him
Okay.
Yorgi. Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, Thanks for joining us, like I said, and since you're probably watching on YouTube, it's a lovely opportunity to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, so you can keep up with the ongoing conversation week after week and
Month after month, year
month
after
after month,
year,
year after year.
decade after decade.
God willing,
We're
yes.
coming up on our first decade in
Eh,
not too long, couple of
not
years.
quite, couple
Yeah,
years. Yeah, we're working on it.
yeah,
God willing. But other than that, yeah, if you enjoy this conversation, get something out of it, or even just find it worth a chortle or two, you can like this video. You can leave a comment. Maybe I will respond, or Mushtaq will, or even someone from the community. But
yeah. That
thank you
happens.
so much to all of you who continue to contribute in the various ways that you do, whether that's, you know, continuing to follow our stuff, leaving comments to chime in with your thoughts and questions. And of course, those of you who donate when you can, that helps us a great deal. And those of you who have joined in on one-on-ones or two-on-ones with us, we really do value that quality time. And though we do offer that time for a fee, we know that that is the time we offer for you specifically. And in that energetic exchange, we get fortified too. And that allows us to feed all of the work that we do. Since we do so much that we want to give people ready access to, all of these things allow us to continue to do that. And we deeply appreciate how you support us in making that happen. So, we've got a bunch of links in the description, as you probably know already. We have our Facebook group, our email list, um, and many of the ways to reach us, our donation links, blah, blah, blah. You get the deal. Thanks so much. And let's talk about this thing that we're talking about with the connection between
We're going to talk about the thing.
yeah, we're going to talk about the thing, this taking impressions thing and how that relates to a very classic Sufi practice called Samā.
All right. So, first, we should say that Gurdjieff introduced this idea of taking impressions as early as his Russian period. You can find references to it in Meetings with Remarkable Men, for instance, where he says that there are three foods that we need to be truly nourished. The first food is food.
Straight up
So,
chomp chomp.
straight up, yeah, bowl of borscht, you know. some kofte.
Biryani.
Yeah, all of that stuff. That's the
Sorry,
first food.
it's Ramadan, sorry. But
Yeah, the mind goes to the food. Um, and he gives some ideas on ways to actually eat food that are nourishing and all of that. Then there's the second food, which we've talked about a lot. The second food is breath. And if you are working on uh, what Gurdjieff called developing the second body, then breath is your friend. You cannot develop it without the breath. And then there's the third food. The third food is what Gurdjieff calls impressions. Now, what the heck is impressions? Nor, what do you think impressions are? What does he
Hmm.
mean by impressions?
Well, in the Gurdjieff tradition, when we talk about impressions, yeah, these are the inputs of experience. And I think one of the most basic ways we can sense they're happening is anytime we're having a sensory experience. So you see things, hear things, smell things, taste, touch things. So it's both external, of course. And then there's the internal inputs of experience. These are the thoughts, the feelings, the associations we make, the images that pop up, the, the emotional moods that we take note of.
Yeah, and
And the things that happen to you, moment to moment, the things that make an impression upon you, we could say, um, yeah, the things that strike you moment to moment.
yeah, and Mr. Gurdjieff points out that mostly we take in impressions mechanically. And mechanical impressions are like eating at McDonald's when it comes to the third food. It will keep you alive, but it won't keep you healthy. So there's a second way of taking impressions, which is to take impressions consciously, to be present to the impression. Basically, you got to be zen about this. I I would like you all to think of a memory that you have that is still very, very vivid in your mind. Can everybody think of one? You don't have to tell us what it is. Especially, well, if it's embarrassing, we probably would like to hear about it, but you don't have to tell us. Now, we would say that you took the impression that is now that memory consciously. You were very present in that moment. And impressions that are taken while awake, that are taken consciously, tend to create vivid memories, whereas impressions that are taken asleep hardly create any memory at all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
hmm I mean, this is why big milestones in your life or things that really hit you hard stay with you. Whereas
Yeah.
sometimes you can't even remember where you put your cell phone and then you find it in the cabinet. How did it get there? You weren't there while you were doing it, but you did it. Yeah.
Now, I looked up what Madame de Saltzman said about this, and she said that to take an impression consciously, for the impression to be received by essence, an impression needs to be a conscious effort at the moment of impression plus a feeling of love for being present.
Mm, I like how she phrases that. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you really kind of revel in being part of the moment, being
Yeah.
present
There
for
can be a profound enjoyment of being awake,
it.
a gratitude even that
Even
really
when,
helps.
yes, I would say this is true even when the moment kind of sucks in some way. Maybe you're in pain, maybe something unsavory is happening, or you're witnessing something that feels disturbing in some way. And yet, if you're able to hold on to that thread of feeling yourself in the moment, in the sense of, your feet are on the ground, you are being given the gift of witnessing, even when it's something that isn't beautiful and wonderful. Yeah.
So the first thing that needs to happen is you need to have an impression of yourself. And this is a kind of stop. It's a stop exercise to just feel yourself, to be present in your body. It creates an interval in which attention turns back on itself. Um, what happens next depends on the impression, how the impression is received. And the main obstacle is reaction.
Mm.
Thought, emotion, habit immediately interpose and cut into the attempt to be present to the impression. And that sucks energy away from it. So we create this small stop. So right now, if you were to take a breath, let it out, and feel yourself, turn your awareness inward on your awareness. Allow yourself to be awake to the present moment, and you are now in a state to receive an impression. Then, whatever is going on will come in, and you will be present for it. Then you turn it back on yourself and include the idea of, I am here receiving this, not in words, but in awareness.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
an
that's the
interesting
tricky
part.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's more like we're using that as a way of describing the
yeah.
sensation of the
But
moment.
if you get lost in the words, you will lose the impression.
And that
So it
I
is
was,
the
yeah.
felt sense of being present for what's going on, of being awake. That's hard to hold, but you can do it. We have faith in you. Does this make sense so far? Good. I'm seeing nodding heads.
Yep.
And Ian has a
And
question.
yes, Ian.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that what you're suggesting means essentially bypassing intellectual center.
Not bypassing it, doing a step up from it. The intellectual center is still there,
Ends here.
but
I mean,
not the
Yeah,
lower intellectual center. The higher intellectual center becomes active.
yeah, you said bypassing?
Yeah, you bypass the noise that is
Yeah,
usually present
I
in the
yeah,
think,
that
intellectual
yeah,
center.
I
yeah, I
do. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at in the first
Yeah.
Mhm.
place, but I it wasn't I couldn't figure the right words for it.
Well, I also want to say, and maybe this will come up a bit more as we continue the conversation, but It's okay if there's chatter, but we're not giving the directed focus to that.
Yeah. And if there is chatter, you take that in as part of the impression,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
should be a hint that this is just like I say, it's very Zen.
hmm It's kind of part of the imprint you're making of all the
Yeah.
information you're gathering.
And this is, there is a whole facet of meditative work that this is a part of.
hmm
People who are listening to this who have been in certain other traditions will go, "Oh, I recognize this."
Or I do this all the time,
Yeah.
even as part of
And
my tradition.
yeah, and it's just using other words.
hmm Yes, Osama.
Yeah, it seems the way that it's being described, it's similar to self-witnessing or remembrance or something like that.
Self-witnessing, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Awesome.
Ah, the Ramadan cup of coffee.
Mhm. Want to wave to Em real quick? Hello.
Yeah.
All right. Where were we? We're talking about,
We were
yeah.
talking about the steps of
hmm
create a small stop,
Yeah.
receive the impression, turn attention back on yourself, then sense your body. The next part is the hardest. Rather than reacting to the impression, hold the impression as the thing in itself. Do not comment. Do not like or dislike. Do not defend. Do not challenge. Just let it be. Stay in front of it for at least a moment. And this is the struggle for presence. And this is conscious work. This is the conscious struggle. This is intentional suffering.
Conscious suffering, intentional suffering.
Whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it, this is it.
this is that.
And when you do these things, you will have taken an impression and it will feed you in a particular way. Once you do this, do it again and again and again.
Get the
Yeah,
reps in.
yeah, get the reps in. Yes, Osama.
Yeah. When you say it will feed you in a particular, in some kind of way, I just want to see if I'm understanding that correctly. So sometimes,
Mm,
or mainly when I walk at night, um, I feel how you're describing that self-witnessing and these impression, and I look at the Empire State that's right across the center of capitalist, whatever, like that, literally the Empire State. Um, and just even as walking, I sense this self-witnessing, and in that, th- it's almost like a rush. There's some kind of internal um recognition of what's happening or of the moment that I'm here, the awe, the magnitude of the moment itself. Um, all of that is kind of compounds, I guess, or different layers of it. But there is an aspect of that witnessing that has this sweetness to it. Is is that what is meant by it feeds you? Like,
In a certain sense, we would say that this will move the energy from nafs to qalb.
Ah,
And having the energy moved into the heart center is what feeds you.
that's clear.
Yeah, and that is uh, it's explicit in the old practice of Samā, which is why we are combining these two things together.
Yeah. So, I mean, there may be a sense of mm, satisfying connectedness to this. Let's put it that way. But I also want to point out that it's really not about a high or a like majestic awe. It does not need to be that intense. And at the same time, there may be times when we do feel that, but either way, the attitude, the focus is on that connectedness rather than the feeling itself, if that makes sense. Yes, Ian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, it more often than not, there's a feeling of contentment associated with it.
Mm.
Yes, that's exactly right. If you have that feeling of contentment, that's a very, very good sign. That means you've achieved the state of Ananda.
Amara?
Mm.
Ananda, like Sat Chit Ananda.
Oh.
Ananda
Yeah.
is usually
Truth,
translated.
truth, consciousness, and bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So,
sold to us as bliss. Instead, we get contentment. Ah, ripped off.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that contentment is a way better translation of Ananda than bliss is. I mean, you got all these yogis coming over to the West and they know us. So they know that if they say bliss, we will get excited. If they say contentment, it's like, who cares? But, bliss is cheap. Contentment is gold.
Every brief little glimpse I've had of contentment has been more important to me than any other state I've experienced, really, so far.
Yeah.
A vast relief and a vast kind of mild or calm confidence is another kind of, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to describe it. Yeah, it's not tripping out on bliss, but
Yeah.
it's damn fine.
Contentment puts you directly in um, my favorite description of meditation, which I got from Adyashanti,
mm,
which is allowing everything to be as it already is.
yeah,
When you are content, that's what you're doing. You're allowing everything to be as it already is. You're not pushing the river. You're not trying to force your worldview on anything. You're not trying to change anything. You're just,
you're not lying to yourself about what's in front of you.
yeah. Yes, James.
And the interesting thing, the way we react to that kind of language is often to see ourselves as quite passive, but I've found that in those states, my body is actually reacting smoother.
Mm.
It's more active towards what's real. It's more efficient. It's not, content like a stone. It's content like a happy monkey.
Yeah.
Uh,
And even in the description, allow everything to be as it already is. That's an action. That's a doing.
Yeah.
It's not saying just sit there and take it. It's saying intentionally allow everything to be as it already is. And then when there is intention, you you are the active principle, not the passive principle.
Yeah. So I did see Shuri pop her hand up real quick. Do you want to chime in?
It, talking about contentment, I felt like that for some people, uh, it can be kind of a trap because they actually didn't sit with the discomfort long enough to make the decision to do A, B, C, D, whatever. But this kind of a false contentment happens sometimes when you think, I've done it, I felt it, and then I'm not going to worry about it or anything. But in doing that, it's almost like you didn't deal with the discomfort. You actually have to sit in the discomfort and know what that impression is trying to tell you. So, for example, I arranged something with a girlfriend to do a particular thing that was important to me. But as we got closer to the date, I wasn't feeling it. I was thinking, oh, I don't really want to go now. I don't want to do this thing. And it got stronger in me. And she hadn't expressed any enthusiasm, but she wasn't going to break the arrangement. And so my impression was, I need to break this arrangement early now while I felt it instead of waiting for the day and then say, you know what, I think I have to cancel. And then she's made all these arrangements for her own life. And I thought that wouldn't be fair. I have to act on it now. So when you get that impression, are you saying that we have to be responsible to do it? Don't dither around, don't wait too long. And then you almost lose the momentum and the opportunity to act on it. So what I did was I actually said, I'm not feeling it. And I've got something else that has started to take priority. Do you mind if we cancel and reassess another time? We could do this thing another time. And she said, you know what? I actually really wanted to cancel. And she wasn't going to tell me, but I did it. And in the end, I saw her afterwards and I said the thing that I had to do was really important and it was the best outcome. But if I hadn't actually acted on the impression, I would have made my life extremely difficult. And I wonder if, that the more I do that, act on those first impressions, it gets easier. So as you were saying, Mushtaq, about um, getting stronger, or what Osama was saying, that the more you do it, that repetition of actually acting on it without overthinking,
Mm.
taking too much time, procrastinating, you will actually get a little bit of muscle about it, a little bit of fortitude to take a hard decision if the impression feels that way, or change course.
Thank you, Shri. Yeah, I think if the tendency, I mean, some people have a tendency to respond to everything that comes up with some reactive response, but this does not sound like that at all. This sounds like it
No,
was an integrated response.
yeah,
And that's
yeah, really feeling into the body. Just got to turn an
exactly.
alarm off.
Thanks, Shri. James.
So if real conscious impression feeds the heart, feeds the essence, is the opposite of that using artificial stories to feed your personality and sort of rev yourself up?
Pretty much. And to do it while asleep.
Mm.
Hmm. Just because I've been here by myself for, I don't know, 5, 6 days, and while I'm trying to consciously observe and be aware of this quite beautifully stimulating, rich environment, I find in the absence of discourse with others, I'm also my mind is throwing more stories, images, memories, whatever, to engage with that, to sort of fill in what it sees as the gaps instead of going into those gaps mindfully. Um, yeah, perhaps that's a bit obvious, but I think that's, stories starve us, real impressions feed us, but we think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And how long have you been there, James? Just curious.
Um, hang on, let me look on the calendar. I've been here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my sixth day on the farm in the middle of nowhere. No face-to-face contact with a human being since then.
Yeah, and that's out of your ordinary routine. So this is you're refiguring out your equilibrium and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting and it's useful because it shows you how much you're still conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
How much.
Oh
One
yeah.
one of the things that makes me dodgy about these guru figures is they always seem to have to have a cluster of disciples desperately assembled around them. And that's because they obviously haven't dealt with their shit. And your shit bubbles up in solitude. So,
Yeah, that's definitely the case. But
mm.
in the defense of gurus, sometimes they need to have something done, maybe something fetched. Maybe they
Oh,
need to have somebody peeling grapes for them.
yes, yes. Peeling grapes by yourself totally destroys your bliss. Yeah.
There you go. So now we get to shift the perspective over a little bit to the idea of samā. Samā is an Arabic word, sin, mim, alif, ain, if you want to look it up. And it means listening, or sometimes it's translated as audition. And in the classical Sufi sense, it is a ritualized gathering for uh, listening to spiritually charged words, like reading Quran in recitation, or wird, or poetry, uh, with melody, music, musical instruments, either very simple or very complex, depending on the tradition. Sometimes movement, with the aim of awakening the heart and intensifying one's remembrance. And in the Sufi sense, it's the remembrance of the divine. And some traditions say awakening a state of wajad, which is ecstasy. But not every tradition says that that's important. And our tradition says, no, that's not important. That's a great way to get drunk. And there's a lot of different kinds of this, from very, very simple. Samā can be a group of dervishes sitting in a tea room, and one of them pulls out the Divani Hafiz, opens it up at random, and recites a poem from it, then hands it to the next dude who does the same thing. And you just go around the circle. And when I say reads, it usually means sung. There are ways to read Persian poetry, Arabic poetry that accentuate the rhyme and the meter and all of this sort of stuff. Um, and that can be Samā, or the Mevlevi Samā, which is very complex and involves specific kinds of music with a specific kind of orchestra, and the dervishes whirling and singing poetry from the Masnavi and recitations from the Quran. And it's all looking to to achieve the same state for the people who are there, which is a state of presence, and we would say taking in conscious impression of the samāʿ, consciously listening and watching. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of imagine this? So, sacred recitation and remembrance, mystical poetry, music, and movement are the basic components. You will not find all four of these present in every kind of samāʿ, but in the best ones, I think you will. So the thing to know about this is that listening is a practice. It's not a performance. And this is unfortunate because in my experience, most samāʿ out there that I've seen in the last 20 years is a performance. You can buy a ticket and go watch the Mevlevis do the turn. And you sit up there and you are not conscious, and maybe you get some little benefit from it, but not if you were trained to sit there consciously and take the impressions being given. Because if you can do that, then it's an incredibly powerful experience if the people who are doing the samāʿ know how to do it. And the usual amount of training to be a samazen is about 2.5 years before you're considered competent to do this. So it's not just spinning around in circles. So there is adab for samāʿ. And this is something that is very, very important. And it's something that you learn to be a good listener, to be a good member of the audience. Audition and audience come from the same root. The audience receives the audition. So what is the adab of being in samāʿ? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
Do we remember what adab means? No.
It means etiquette,
Yeah, I was.
basically.
Yeah.
I'll say it again because I was talking over you.
Etiquette. Rules
Ah,
and manners.
okay. Yeah. I remember now.
So the first step of the adab of samāʿ is intention. If you have the intention to go and be entertained, that's what you'll get. But if you have the intention to be present during the samāʿ, hopefully that's what you get, though it's a lot harder. What else do we got, Noor?
We got sobriety and sincerity, which
Yes.
is, it's a bit interesting for people because when they think of like ecstatic dance and all that, they think, isn't that what I'm going there for? To get some kind of unsober experience? But no, we're not talking about having just like a dead-end, non-ecstatic experience per se, but there's a sense of groundedness about it. There's a sense of groundedness in the intention and not just getting pulled off into the the wow of it all. And also there's this sincerity factor, which means you're not there to show off how deep and spiritual you are. And this is, I think, a trap that newbies get into where they're like, I'm gonna show how much I'm feeling it. I'm gonna look like I'm really in it, like I belong here. Relax. It's not about that. It's not about that. The sincerity means you allow what is to be what it is.
Yeah. And that gets us to the next part, which is the right company and the guide. Good samā is selective in its participants. It's not whoever comes up with $30 for a ticket. It is who has put in the work for this. That may sound elitist, and that's because it is. Nobody, by the fact of existing, has the right to participate in samā. You have to earn that right, at least in the old days, before it became entertainment. You had to be invited. You had to know the rules and manners. You had to be mature. Osama.
Yeah. This this part, like about it being, it's not an open circle kind of a thing. It makes sense. Like, you know, we've been doing something similar to Samā. It's like dhikr circles, and it's open. It's open to the public, and people can come and participate. And it's not it's audition in the sense of the true meaning of the word audition, which means like listening rather than
Yeah.
somebody's auditioning for somebody else.
Hmm.
So it's like, everybody is encouraged to participate. I can, after doing it for, since November, I can really appreciate. I'm like, oh, it makes sense why sometimes they make it as a closed circle. It
Yeah.
makes sense, right? And not only of the particular energies between the people, but there is like there's levels to listening. It's such an interesting thing. And when to participate and in what level to participate as you're listening. Um, and yet at the same time, this is the dilemma. At the same time, when it's open, you get people who are participating in such a way that's just delicious. Like there are no expectations or anything like that. Is just coming in, boom, the most authentic voices and the most authentic presence that's there that kind of adds freshness, I guess, to the experience. So like hearing that, I've been kind of contemplating about like, oh, okay, I get why some of them are just closed circles. They're just, hey, it's just this group that meets this time a week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is. They do their sema, they do their practice, and boom, done. And having it be kind of like the Mevlevi where, yeah, you go for a performance, you pay a ticket and watch somebody do it. It's nice, but participation is it's a participation. It's a somatic experience. Your
Hmm.
body is being involved in all different kind of ways. Um, it's like the difference between watching sports and playing sports. So,
Yeah. I think of it as the difference between samā saghir versus samā kabir.
okay. I like that. Never heard that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I just made it up. No, really. Um, there needs to be open groups so that people know that this is something that they want. But I will tell you, the first time I was at a Samā Kabir was eye-opening because everybody was there for exactly the same purpose. Everybody knew what was going on and they knew how to do it. And they had a strong intention to do it. And the intention was absolutely harmonious. And the energy within 20 minutes was so palpable. I was thinking that the lights are going to start flickering. You start feeling vibrations in the ground and stuff. It was like that. Alka must have forgotten that it's daylight savings time.
It's all right. It happens to
It's
all of
okay. Everybody, there's got to be one.
us. So what is this differentiation you're making between Samir and Kabir?
Sagir means small.
Say Sahir, yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So
Sagir.
the little
Yeah,
Samā and the
the little
great
Samā versus the
Samā.
Kabir, the big
Yeah.
Samā. Ah,
And as Mushtaq was saying, and as I think you can say from experience now, Osama, like there needs to be room for both. There needs to be the opportunity and the space and the culture for both
yeah,
because they both serve very precious purposes.
yeah. If you don't do the public stuff, how do people know that you got what they want? But I consider it a filter because you will find the people who are willing to do the hard way there, and then you just kind of go, hey, come out back.
I got the good stuff.
Yeah,
Not that it's not all good stuff, but I love the idea of, allowing people to get a taste of the thing and then develop a sensitivity for the thing. And that comes with time and experience, as you know. Yes, James.
I want to see if I'm getting myself confused here or sidetracked or not. So I'm thinking of two things. I'm thinking of that conscious consumption of impressions, and that can be impressions from any particular realm of experience. But now we're talking about the conscious taking of impressions from a very specific, for want of a better term, I'll say ritual environment or an environment that's evoking particular qualities or something like that. Is that like I can walk out there and I can take conscious impression from the trees and the light and the animals. Um, but are these performances when you attend and you're aware and you're there with right intent, is the performance itself focused on evoking a particular quality for you to consciously consume on any particular occasion? Does that, can you see what I'm getting at there?
I'm staring at you blankly, but Noor knows what you're talking about.
Osama has a
Um,
thought in
oh,
response, I think.
Yeah. Um, y- y- yes, I think that the way that they're both connected is that the practice itself of listening, which is somewhat interesting. I mean, similar to one time there was a talk about noticing, right? There was something about when you're walking outside and you notice a bird or when you hear a sound of a bird, you're listening, you're consciously aware, right? The rituals, I guess, or the ceremonial aspect of Samā is to heighten that sensitivity, right? If we're, according to what Mushtaq and Noor are saying, when you're
Mm.
doing it consciously and you're not just continuously falling into ecstasy, which, by the way, it's a pleasant drunkenness because the next day there's no hangover. But
Yeah.
um, the it's kind of it's allowing for that. There's so many things that get stirred up during the ceremony, right? As you're conscious, as the individual is consciously listening and seeing when and how to participate and what and how to allow for the impressions, because it's sometimes it's not all pleasant. Just because it's music and there's all this kind of
Yeah.
everything's happening, it doesn't necessarily mean that's all the time pleasant, which is just how life is, right? It's not all the time pleasant. So that's how I'm seeing the connection between, when you're outside at the farm and you're seeing the impression of a horse, a magnificent being just running your way. And similarly, when you're sitting in ceremony and you hear a melody that just or a poem that just goes inside your heart and says,
Mm.
it's in similar way. At least that's how I'm understanding this connection.
I just wondered if the ceremonies were more deliberate in the impressions they were delivering to you than, I'll say, the randomness of the everyday world. I just wonder if there's any kind of structure, any kind of
There
thing going on.
is. Yes, this is actually part of the whole the adab structure is
Right.
that you if you're going to create this container, the idea is that the whatever you recite and whatever the themes are meant to be things that are likely to create what Osama was describing, this sense of uplift, this sense of immersion,
Mm.
and this ability to open to something that enters you, that you open up and allow something to enter. And the themes that are chosen, the poetry that's chosen, the melodies that are uh leaned into, the rhythms that are leaned into, these are all things that are meant to plug into that primal part of us that is changed in some way by these immersive experiences. It's a pretty primal thing.
Yeah. You could say that Samā real Samā is a technology for taking impressions consciously. When that happens, Samā becomes a lot more than devotional music or a static ritual and stuff like that. It becomes a laboratory for extracting the third food, a deliberately structured way of receiving impressions so that they don't immediately get stolen by association, identification, and mechanical emotion, but instead are digested by something deeper. And what that gives us is that Samā is impression work rather than state chasing. And these days, a lot of samas are designed to chase states, to get in that ecstatic state, to get high. And we say that it is not that. It is serious work at consciously taking impression. And if you don't, then uh, what you get is those impressions are immediately taken as automatic pleasure, displeasure, memories and fantasies, self-image, like all the guys that are sitting there going, "Oh, I'm so spiritual." I'm so spiritual. Look at all of these people. We're all spiritual together, but I'm more spiritual than that dude over there. Look at him. He doesn't look spiritual at all. I'm spiritual.
Or why don't I feel anything right now? What's wrong with me? Why am I,
Yeah.
this isn't working. What's going on? Oh my God, panic because I'm just dead inside. That's me. I'm sitting here
Yeah.
with all these cool people and I'm dead inside.
And that turns into the story. So that's not what we're going for. We're going for the opposite of that.
My question was awkwardly and bumblingly put, but guys, your responses, thank you. Samā, no, Mishta. Cool. Thank you.
Great. Lovely. Love it.
I was just thinking of when listening to music, and you can hear music all the time, and then all of a sudden there'll be a piece that will just make the hairs on the back of your neck rise and
Mm.
tears come to your eyes. And all of a sudden you're listening in a completely different way. That is an impression that I get, that you're looking at different qualities of listening, but some things will move you more.
Yeah. And those stick with you. I can remember to this day exactly where and when the first time I heard the Flower Duet from Lakshmi, which is one of my favorite pieces of music ever. And it just immediately brought me to consciousness. There's a few pieces of music like that. A lot of people get that with the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, especially the Ode to Joy sequence.
You just helped me recall when we had those catastrophic bushfires that nearly wiped out the entire state. They had a concert in the concert hall in the city, and they had a couple of hundred, how do you say it? A choir.
A chorus?
Yeah, it was just, I think 200 people. There was all these musicians that volunteered their time and their skill. But instead of just being on a stage, they actually came in from multi directions and walked through the audience and came down all together. So you had people, two columns of people right through the middle of this concert hall. You had an orchestra at the front, and this sound that just engulfed everybody in that concert hall was extraordinary. And everybody was moved to tears. And it
Yeah.
was just like, but that whole experience of everybody coming together, it wasn't just me having an impression, it was everybody. And it was like, wow, that is powerful. That was truly powerful. And I was just blown away by it all.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because in that moment, that was the impression.
Yeah.
And now what you're sharing is what came after that
Mm,
impression.
mm.
And, you need to do that in order to communicate about it, right? But you're not in that moment taking that impression right now. And so what we're talking about, what's that, Sheree?
It can take you by surprise if
Hmm.
you let yourself be open. If you're trying to qualify it in your pursuit to understand this, to actually feel something, you can block yourself.
Yes.
It's kind of like just let it be, and you can feel it just sort of sweep you along, and you realize this is something special, something different. And that is a really lovely thing. It was very, very positive feeling coming out of something that was so horrendous that the whole state was nearly burnt to a crisp. And you just think, wow, it's amazing what people coming together can do. And I really like that you're talking about the quality of your company to help you come to experience an impression, to actually not buoy you, but support you to feel it's okay to feel this. It's okay to come to tears. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to open your heart, because we're getting almost too overprotective of what we're seeing and hearing and feeling, that we've become a bit robotic and a bit stingy. Isn't that a good word?
Yeah,
Stingy with our experience.
that
Yeah,
is a good word.
that is a good way to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And good samā gives you shocks. There will be something that shocks you awake a couple of times in the samā. Like with the Mevlevi Samā, there's all this beautiful music playing and all of these guys and coming in and marching around and sitting down, and they're sitting on their knees. And then all of a sudden, they all bow at the same time and slap their hands on the ground. And it's like this boom. And it's a little shock, makes you pay attention. Or a favorite of mine, I'll have to find a clip of this and put it up in the forum. There was a soprano who was singing an aria to a group of people with some big thing, and the aria was actually a duet, but she didn't have anybody to accompany her, so she was singing along, and it was good. She wasn't phoning it in. And then when it got to the duet part, this guy in the audience just enters in, and he's a good singer and he knows the lines, and the entire audience is just, oh my God. The woman who was singing the aria was, I love watching her face because she's moved by it in such an absolutely delightful wake up now sort of way.
Immediate.
Yeah, total immediacy, complete presence. The entire room became present in that one moment. I'll find out. I'll put it up in the forum for us to enjoy because it's sweet. So why is samā such a potent dish for the third food? Samā is not spiritual oatmeal. It's a feast.
Oatmeal. Oh, Lord.
What?
No, I think that's like it's not pablum.
Yeah,
Done right, it is not just, baby food for
yeah. Did
chicken
I hurt
soup
your
for the
feelings by
soul.
making fun of oatmeal?
No, I think it's appropriate. Okay, so yeah, why do you guys think it is so potent? We've talked a little bit about that, but let's see what else we can dig up before me and Mushtaq, before we tell you these things. Yes, James.
Well, usually our perceptions of the world are filtered through our automatic responses. Uh, they're reduced. They're incorporated into our story, so there's nothing challenging, even if it's unpleasant. It's still not particularly challenging to our deeper sense of identity. Whereas if you're perceiving consciously, you're sort of bypassing or turning those automatic filters off, those automatic strategies of incorporating everything back into your conventional story. You're opening yourself up. So it's, for want of a better word, I'll say it's a vulnerable state or a very, very sensitive state. And it's not reinforcing your conventional story. So that can be a bit of a challenge.
Hmm.
That's kind of my thinking so far. It's at the very least, it's not reinforcing or even perhaps destabilizing your conventional story because you're not doing habitual perception, which is just really rerunning the past and repackaging it for the future. It's attending to what's actually going on.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
Is that close to what you're thinking of, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Em.
To me, I think and I feel that real Samā puts you into true presence, which then allows the high energy, the life energy, to you to become like a portal for the life energy to pour through freshly into every given moment in a conscious way. All living beings are already doing this, like the natural world. But with the humans, it needs to be done consciously. Otherwise, we're dead energy. We're in dead stories, we're walking around like zombies because we're constantly either in the past or a future that hasn't arrived yet. So we're not present enough for the present alive energy is consumed and produced, where it's then productive for one soul and for the greater one soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually crucial. It's foundational if we want our spirit to enliven and develop. We need to practice Samā.
One way or another. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one way or another. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, that really speaks to the listening, this immersion in an experience that touches us so deeply, and how necessary.
And I think it's such a listening, like that Samā Kebir, I guess.
Mm.
It's such a listening that it's not just listening sound and with the ear. You're listening with your eyes, you're listening with your skin, you're listening with somehow you're listening with all of you. All of you is taking it in, and the opening is almost as if your pores are opening up for that energy to then, that portal thing to happen, right? For that conscious deliverance of true, pure, fresh life energy to enter your system and exit through your system to make the world go round. and maybe we've become to a point in the world where so much disaster is being thing because there's so much dead energy, dead yeah, I don't know how to put it in words, but I feel that it's an emergency and an urgency that we practice Samā and know that it's not just serving me. This is a service, I think, that needs to be practiced. It's not a performance that you're watching. It's actually, yeah. It's, yeah, and so sad that Samā is taught in a cultural way as if, you know, some dudes in dresses, you watch them spin for hours and you get mesmerized by it, and as if you're an audience watching a performance, and that's the Samā. And even it's in that folkloric kind of a way, people get touched by it. So,
Yeah.
It's
you
true.
know, it's not for waste. It's not for waste. But if we could actually tap into what you are talking about tonight. And if we could just tap in and practice it even once in a day, like consciously allow that whole listening to happen, or at least place ourselves in the position with the intention for it, and grace will respond.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Sounds right.
Heidi. Yeah, you gotta. There
Yeah,
you go.
I suspect that Samā has some kind of physiological effect too. I mean,
Oh,
we've
of
been
course.
talking about consciousness a lot, but maybe Samā, it recalibrates your mitochondria, it cleans out your lymph nodes, it turns you into a tuning fork so you can resonate with another
That last
vibe
one
and
is accurate.
Yeah.
resonate with another vibe that is gonna maybe even help the world or something, you know.
Tuning
It's
fork. Yep.
just because we're in the machine, or Gurdjieff says we're being mechanical, but maybe the Samā frees us a little bit to actually take control of the machine a little
Mhm.
bit,
Well,
but
you
not as a isolated unit. We're in control because we're connected to an energy source. I don't know. It's my, I think Em was getting somewhere with what she said.
I appreciate what you're saying as well, in tandem with what Em was saying, because you touched on the physiological component, which absolutely cannot be denied. As we've said, this is a practice of listening, and often that is literal, right? There's drumming, poetry recitation. You feel it in your body from the rhythms that are being produced in the movements that you may be participating in. And you cannot, it enters you whether you have like some highfalutin idea about it or not. You are
Yeah.
already part of it.
And there's a neurological entrainment within the group through
Mhm.
the medium of the music, usually,
Yes.
the rhythmic component.
Yep. And it becomes, if you're really immersed in it, then all the stories you may be telling yourself about the experience may fall away. And if they don't, if you notice yourself going through a cycle of distractions around the practice, I mean, that's informative as well. And it gives you a gauge on your state and maybe what you're needing. What other fuel, what other food are you lacking right now that is making it difficult for you to be fully submerged in this experience? Or what attitude shift may be required? Because it's okay to feel all those other things like anticipation, comparison, emotional worked upness, numbness, even like we discussed earlier, drifting into fantasies about how spiritual it all is, and trying to, get something out of it, achieve something, or relieve some itch in you, or walk away feeling some kind of quote unquote success with the experience. All of these things are not just good data points, but they help you understand your humanness. They really help you understand your humanness and your vulnerability in the face of the overwhelming mechanicalness of it all that we're all working through and trying to make our peace with. Because that's really about what it is. I mean, that's what it is. We're not trying to, as I always say, we're not trying to kill it. We're trying to make our peace with it and incorporate it into the bigger picture so that it doesn't rule the day. Okay, so what if you were numb during that practice? That's okay. No need to get lost in a story about what that means about you. Or you had, like, you started weeping hysterically